The story of Yonomi Park. She joins me now on why she fears there's not much time left for America to walk its way out of woke. Yonomi, great to meet you in person.
Thank you for having me on.
Your life in North Korea, having your parents taken away, you and your sister, you were 9 and she was 13, living by yourself, having to eat bugs to survive, escaping to China, finding your way to South Korea and then to America. And then you find yourself sitting in Columbia University. And what did you notice?
All day long, they talk about how to destroy America. They were dying to dismantle the system.
In what way?
In the name of equity, equality of outcomes, want to be a socialist. So I couldn't believe it. I mean, without capitalism, they cannot have internet. They are on their juice detox. Their problem is having too much food. And with zero gratitude, zero perspective, they were saying the enemy is a capitalism. Enemy is a white man. The exact same thing that my nursery teachers taught me in the classroom.
Because they hate him. They told you in North Korea, America is evil. We're the problem with the world. And you're sitting in New York City, and they're saying the same thing.
Yes. I couldn't believe it. Like, did I just transfer back to the North Korean classroom? And they were saying the only solution is a communist revolution.
You look at one gender fluid person, and you called him he. And you see him have a meltdown, yes. Or they have a meltdown in front of you.
Yeah.
And you actually feel bad for this person.
Yeah, because for the first time I was realizing this person was also like brainwashed like me when I was in North Korea. I believed that Kim Jong-il could read my mind because that was a brainwashing that I had to believe to survive. Now this person thinks their oppression is somehow their pronouns.
It's crazy, yes. Right? I mean, I think it's crazy and I'm embarrassed. I want to bring you to this excerpt from your book. Professors and administrators spoke to us like children, and so many students acted accordingly. People my age, literally double my size, who appear to be incredibly fit and well-fed, sometimes reduced to tears discussing feelings they harbored that appeared to have no possible connection to anything they were supposed to be learning about. A lecture on Homer would end up with a white student crying about colonialism. A class on government would take the form of 2 students trying to outdo each other in LGBTQ allies. In the months I spent studying criminal justice in South Korea, I never learned that injustices could be fought by spinning new ones out of thin air. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, in some sense, like not having a problem is an actual problem. They are making problem out of nowhere, creating injustice out of thin air. Right. And that's the injustice they are fighting here. That's so-called social justice is all about fighting 10,000 different pronouns.
It's amazing you could overcome what you overcome and have this type of logic. So you're worried about China and China's influence, especially on colleges. We were able to put this number together. So from 2017 to 2022, listen to how much they've contributed to Harvard: 79 million, Stanford 44 million, Columbia 45, University of Chicago 42, MIT 34, and Berkeley 21, and 3 million, University of Michigan. What do they want? What do you worry about?
This is where Chinese government bought all these institutions, not just education, even Hollywood. Last year when my first book was trying to become a movie, and the producer sent me a script. In the script it says that China was my promised land. China gave me a safety and refugee, and I called the producer, what are you talking about? He said, this is the only way we can make a North Korean story in current Hollywood.
Are you kidding? So you have to make China look
it's
great,
a promised land.
Where they were sold you as a sex slave.
Exactly.
And you escaped to South Korea and China. That's an example of what they want to buy. They want to buy the elite universities with their dollars, and you're setting up a flare. Yonomi Park, I'm sorry you had to go through what you're going through. I'm embarrassed that you're going through this at Columbia, but I'm so glad you have a great head on your shoulders to not be susceptible to it. Pick up while time remains: a North Korean defector's search for freedom in America. So great to meet you.
Thank you.
It's the story of Yonomi.
Biologists explain how organisms adapt to their physical environment, but ideologues also adapt to their social environment. The most fundamental fact about the ideals of the political left is that they do not work. Therefore, we should not be surprised to find the left concentrated in institutions where ideas do not have to work in order to survive. The academic world is the natural habitat of half-baked ideas, except for those fields in which there are decisive tests, such as science, mathematics, engineering, medicine, and athletics. In all these fields, in their differing ways, there comes a time when you must either put up or shut up. It should not be surprising that all of these fields are notable exceptions to the complete domination of the left on campuses across the country. In the humanities, for example, the test of deconstructionism is not whether it can produce any tangible results, but whether it remains in vogue. So long as it does, professors skilled in its verbal sleight of hand can expect to continue to receive six-figure salaries. You might think that the collapse of communism throughout Eastern Europe would be considered a decisive failure for Marxism, but academic Marxists in America are utterly undaunted. Their paychecks and their tenure are unaffected. Their theories continue to flourish in the classrooms, and their journals continue to litter the library shelves. Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it. Even countries that were once more prosperous than their neighbors have found themselves much poorer than their neighbors after just one generation of socialistic policies. Whether these neighboring countries were Ghana and the Ivory Coast, or Burma and Thailand, it has been the same story around the world. Nor is economic failure the worst of it. The millions slaughtered by Stalin, Mao, and Pol Pot for political reasons are an even grimmer reality. People who live and work in a world where there is a business bottom line, an athletic scoreboard, a military battlefield, or life-and-death surgery may find it hard to fully appreciate the difference between that kind of world and one in which the only decisive test is whether your colleagues like what you are saying. Academia is only one of the places where wholly subjective criteria rule, and where leftists predominate. Endowed institutions, such as foundations and museums, likewise often face no test other than what like-minded people find exciting, and what enables those who run these institutions to get the heady feeling that they are making a difference. The same is true of cultural institutions supported involuntarily by the taxpayers, such as the Smithsonian or the National Endowments for the Arts and the Humanities. Taxpayer-supported public radio and television are similarly insulated from reality and similarly dominated by the left, not only in the United States, but in other countries as well. All the nostrums of the left that have brought hunger to millions in countries which used to have surplus food to export, all the pretty words and ugly realities that have caused millions more to flee the lands of their birth, these nostrums live on in public television, much like old classic movies with familiar lines that the audience of aficionados can recite along with the characters on the screen. These endowed and insulated institutions, often full of contempt for the values of American society and Western civilization, are not the only bastions of the left counterculture. So are Hollywood and Broadway. Although showbiz faces the financial need to get an audience, the truth of what they portray is hardly crucial. If they can make it punchy and sexy, then those who complain about historical inaccuracies and ideological bias can be dismissed as irrelevant pedants. Why are leftists able to crowd out other kinds of people from these places? Because those who are willing to subject themselves to the test of reality, whether as a businessman in the marketplace or as a surgeon in an operating room, have many other places in which to work and live. They do not need special sheltered niches in which to hide and to cherish their precious notions. Darwinian adaptation to environment applies not only to nature, but also to society. Just as you don't find eagles living in the ocean or fish living on mountaintops, so you don't find leftists concentrated where their ideas have to stand the test of performance.
Anyway, I think I also was talking about, though I think I'll talk about a bit more detail. I did make a video, but I don't think it really said like that much, so I'm going to try to see if I can say a little bit more. Anyway, Raymond said college teach lies. Raymond said that colleges teach lies. Raymond said that universities, he said that college teach lies. And he said that the entire public education system is evil. Yeah, I had a friend, Jardo Bazera, and I knew a few other people. Another one of my friends, Anel. They went to college, they went to university, and they told me as well, they said it was complete brainwashing. And they said as well, Jardo, he took courses on how to become a teacher, and they are teaching him as well trans, LGBTQ stuff, and like different pronouns, and they as well started like brainwashing him. He told me, he said that the universities are brainwashing, and he like dropped out. He dropped out because they're like trying to brainwash him. And that woman as well, Yeonmi Park, and I think like if you look it up, you'll see stories from like many other people, but they all said the same exact thing. They all like went to these colleges, universities, and like these public schools, and like in America, and they said it was all like brainwashing. And they said that the colleges, the universities, they said that they are teaching lies. In fact, that Yeonmi Park woman from like North Korea, she said that she went to Columbia, and she said they asked her for her pronouns, and they did all sorts of stuff, and they as well like this whole like diversity, and they just like started brainwashing her. She said that college, universities, and she said public schools, she said that they teach lies, which is true. And she said as well, like, it was the exact same thing as, like, in North Korea. The exact, like, same kind of thing. Now, it's interesting as well. Some people try to say that she is a liar, and some people are trying to say, oh, that she's this and whatever. I think it's kind of ridiculous. I think that most of her story is true. I think she did, like, embellish, and she seemed to have, like, over-exaggerated a few things, but I don't like she ever, like, outright lied. And, you know, so I find the whole thing about her lying to be kind of ridiculous. I think she did, like, embellish a few things, like, or I mean, like, over-exaggerate, but I think most of her story, like, is, like, true. And I don't, like, really doubt, like, any of it. No, I'm going to trust my gut, and I'm going to say what most of that woman said is true. And Thomas Sowell, I was following Thomas Sowell as well, and Thomas Sowell as well, he also was talking about how the colleges, universities, and he said that they teach lies, and he talked about as well this whole leftist agenda that is, like, being, like, put in them, and how they're, like, brainwashing students. And Yeonmi, that woman, she said the same exact thing, and many other people, same exact, like, similar, like, brainwashing kind of, like, experiences. And Thomas Sowell also did, like, a video, like, talking about that. Anyway, yeah, college is a scam, and I don't think I'd ever go to college or any universities. I realize, like, they all teach lies, and I said it's all, you know, just brainwashing. It is all just indoctrination. Like, there is no truth being taught in, like, any of them. And there is no truth being taught in, like, any of the public schools. And as well, you know, I was sexually, mentally abused. I was, like, molested. Well, one of the men, like, sexually touched me, and I was, like, sexually, like, groomed. And I was sexually, like, abused. And as well, it was the same exact brainwashing that is going on in the colleges, same exact brainwashing that is going on in the universities. You know, the same exact thing, like, in the public schools. And, you know, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're sexist, everything is this, everything is that, everything is whatever. And if you don't agree with us, then you are this, and you're that, and you're bad, and you're excluded, and, oh yeah, just brainwashing. And, Lisa, my other friend told me as well, she said as well, she was, like, sexually, mentally abused. She said those people at her school, they, like, abused her as well. You know, I'll say it again, I'll say it many times because I think it is important. College, public schools teach lies, universities, colleges, they teach lies, and the whole entire, like, public education system, I said, is evil. And as well, I have many people in my family who never went to college, never went to universities, had barely, like, any education, and they made lots of money, and they were very successful, and they never went to, like, any of those places at all. So basically, college, universities is, like, a brainwashing scam, and really, all the public schools are. Now, you know, I'm not having children, not until the 1,000 years, not until the next world. But when I do, I'm just going to homeschool them. I'm just going to educate them at home. And Raymond said the public education system is going in the colleges, universities. He said they are going to get more evil and evil until like the 1,000 years. He said that the brainwashing going on in the universities is like going to get worse. Well, I'm glad that I'm wise. I'm smart enough that I never like wasted any money going there, knowing that I would just be taught lies. And I realized as well, I have the internet, I have all sorts of things, I can just teach myself all sorts of things. And I don't need anybody to indoctrinate me to do anything. Anyway, I don't really follow that girl anymore. Was it Bubba's Blow? Yeah, she also said a lot of interesting things like a while back. She was talking about as well her professors and stuff. They were teaching her all this like gender crap. And she said as well they were trying to brainwash her. And women are paid less than men and all this whole like leftist liberal like drivel. They are trying to just like brainwash her with. You're not like the first person out there who has said like something like that. Many people as well, like, were brainwashed by, like, your college campus. I didn't even think I'd waste any time on that crap. I think I would just drop out. I'd be like, you know what, screw it, and just, like, you know what, I don't need any degrees. I can just go and do whatever. I don't, like, need any of this. You know what? What you're paying for is all brainwashing anyways. Go out, live a life. Go out, do something else. Okay? Go out, live a life. You don't need any of that to be successful. It's all just brainwashing. I dropped out of high school, never went to college. And you know what? After I realized, how it's all, just lies. I think I'm happier ever since. And I'm happy that I never went to any of those indoctrination centers. I can live my own life, I can go out, I can do my own things, and I don't need to have someone constantly telling me, you have to think like this, and you have to think like that, and you have to have this, like, ideology, and if you aren't like us, then we're going to exile you. And you know what? That kind of brainwashing is the same reason why I left, like, school in the first place. I've been homeschooled for years, and I don't regret a single thing at all. The only thing I regret is not being able to leave quicker. Like, I'm, like, generally pretty happy. I'm pretty optimistic. I'm pretty happy that I never decided to waste my time on that. Like, I'm glad that I saw through all the bullshit. I saw through all the BS, and I was like, nope. Most people, like, do not, like, see through it, but I, like, did. I was thinking of going to, like, universities, colleges when I was much younger, but then I woke up and I realized that it's all, like, liberal SJW, like, indoctrination. And I was like, yeah, no way. I'm glad I never wasted any time on it. It's nice to be a free human being and not a slave of some, like, corporation. It's nice to not be a slave of, like, these woke ideologies. College teach lies. All brainwashing. If you notice as well, all the other schools across all around the world, they all are teaching the same exact things. It's because they all teach lies. You're not going to get an education, all you're going to get is an indoctrination. And I'd say to anyone who is in college, university, or at public schools, or leave while you can, because the brainwashing is going to get worse. Anyway, so that's my sort of, like, lengthy kind of, like, rant about that, but that's something I really needed to say. I talked about Charlotte Iserbyt and her book, Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, which is a great read, and it talks about as well how the secret societies and the government, which I said are psychopaths, and they are corrupt, and how they as well are, like, behind, like, the brainwashing going on in the colleges and the public schools, and they're behind all this SJW, like, brainwashing. And as well, and it talked about this in The New World Order by Ralph Epperson. What stood out to me, and also, like, in the book by Bill Cooper, it was talking about how the colleges, universities, which I know they teach lies, but I was also talking about how they are being used as, like, a tool to, like, mind wash, like, brainwash the masses. And it talks about how that public schools as well, and the education system, is being used to, like, enslave the population. And it talked about as well how, like, the education system is, like, all, like, deliberately designed to do this. And it was all like designed like this by the Rockefellers and like by Carnegie and by other like corporations. And I remember as well in the deliberate dumbing down of America, it also talked about Skull and Bones, how Skull and Bones also has a lot to do with like American education. Did you know Skull and Bones and Freemasons and secret societies as well is like has a lot to do with like the stuff that you're reading and stuff that you're studying, because like they also gave all these money to like these universities and give all this money to like these public schools, and they're involved with like the curriculum and creating the overall like curriculum and stuff that is like to be studied. And did you know that like that secret societies were like directly involved with like your education? Well, not education, no, brainwashing. And all this stuff as well about teaching children to touch themselves and all sorts of crazy like crap like that. And all the like child like sex education and all the crazy stuff that they're teaching. That as well like comes from like Skull and Bones, and that comes from like the secret societies. And that comes as well from the more like corrupt like layers of the government that is like in charge of education. And the school shootings as well, which I said are frauds. Now, I don't think they're fake. I think they are real, but I think they all were like planned by like design. Bill Cooper said something as well about like how the school shootings and stuff like that as well are like manufactured. Like they're like on purpose. And I think it also has a lot to do with like MK Ultra. Really, I think that all these school shootings are real, but I think as well that they are kind of like supposed to be psyops. And I think they are also supposed to sort of like distract people. Anyway, Raymond said it best, and I'll say it again. College teach lies. Universities, they teach lies. And the whole like public education system around the world is evil. And, well, is brainwashing and is indoctrinating children to, like, follow the Antichrist, and is getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and it will get worse and worse, well, until the end. I said, homeschooling really is the only way. Everything else, including the colleges, universities, is all brainwashing at this point. I did talk about this like many other times, and maybe I'm repeating myself a bit, but, I did try to go back to see if I thought like any different. No, I still have the same opinion, that it's all brainwashing. And, I see that it is. That is the truth. And I see as well that the video games, the television, the movies, almost everything else, like, is brainwashing as well. And so the colleges, universities, they teach lies too. And so it's like the educational system. And I see this whole world for what it is, a fraud. This world is a lie, this world is a sham, this world is evil. And I said, nope, I'm not gonna have any children, not until the next world. Not in this, like, sham of a world. I couldn't even imagine it, like, no, not ever. And I would never, ever, ever send my children, which I'm not having until the next world, but I would never, ever send them to college or public schools, or never, never, never. I'd never send them through all that brainwashing. I'd just, like, home educate them. All the stories as well coming out about these university students that are being, like, they said that they are being brainwashed. And all these stories as well coming out about the public school, like, sexual mental abuse. All the stories that are, like, coming out. The truth is coming out. And what is the truth? Well, like I said many times before, that it's brainwashing. Brainwashing, I said, meaning no truth. No truth whatsoever. All lies that are being taught. Like, all false things. And it doesn't surprise me at all hearing about, like, all of these stories. I said the truth is gonna come out some way or another, and the truth is all, like, coming out.